guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talks. I'm trying to get back into the recording bits of things. I think, did I record yesterday or was that 2 days ago now? I don't know, but the days are flying by. I want to check real quick. This is a 2-day streak. Is this a 2-day streak? But I'm mainly, it is a 2-day streak. I'm recording mainly on just my podcast feed. And yeah, so that's where it is now, and eventually it will get to YouTube. I just need to get in the rhythm of recording and editing, and I'm producing a bunch of content, but again, I'm lazy. I know I'm just out of block. I have a lot of things to talk about, and I'm more of a fan. I'm more of like a fan this season. I'm focused on betting a little bit. And speaking about betting, the Giants covered the spread. The Giants are now under Joe Judge. We're about 62, I think, percent against the spread, which is good. That means we're exceeding expectations. I know this team more than everyone else. A couple of things. The struggles, what I'd worry about, I'd kind of listed in 3 things. What I'm worried about, James Bradberry. He was shutting down number 1 wide receivers last year. Now, he wasn't as great as everyone was thinking. He was missing tackles. Last year was a missing tackle problem. But this year, they're like, oh yeah, we'll just put him up against the number 1 receiver. No, that's not, I think Adoree Jackson should go up against number 1 receivers. I think he's the better corner. He's shutting down, I guess if you shut down the number 2 wide receiver and just be like, let's beat us with the number 1, I guess that's kind of good. But James Bradberry, I told you, was not like the number 1. He was one of my worries coming into the season. I was worrying about him and Graham Gano. But Graham Gano, he's almost too good where we're settling for field goals. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'd worry about James Bradberry. I'd worry about our pass rush. Because it's not getting home. We're not winning on one-on-one reps. People, I think, overestimated us against Washington. I'm talking about their defensive line versus our offensive line. They couldn't get pressure on Daniel Jones. No, they got pressure. It's just Daniel Jones got the ball out really quickly. They were beating our guys in one-on-one eventually. After the second move, they'd be by our guys. But our defensive line isn't good whatsoever. I think Azeez Ojulari is going to come into his own eventually. But I heard this whole mixed martial art thing with Lorenzo Carter. That he was going to be, but I'm just watching him on TV. He's not really popping off or popping out. He's versing offensive rookies, and he's versing Charles Leno. All right, you should be able to beat those guys. That's just saying. The Dutch Lawrence is doing his thing. Austin Johnson's doing his thing. But, has Raymond Johnson got any snaps, really? I think once he starts going, maybe our pass rush should be a little bit better. Carter Coughlin, I haven't seen him at all. So that's what I'm kind of, concerned about. We haven't seen these. I thought Carter Coughlin was good. Maybe you take Crowder, Reggie Ragland eventually as Carter Coughlin learns the position. Maybe against Atlanta, if we're winning by a lot, put Carter in, get him some viable and useful reps and snaps. Maybe that's the plan. So I'm worried about our pass rush. I don't think there's a solution for it. I really don't. You can't just all of a sudden get a TJ Watt off the tree. It's going to have to be solved next year and getting somebody in the draft with one of those 2 picks. That's how we're going to have to solve it. We have to hope that Chase Young develops. I think there's a guy out of Iowa this year. There's obviously the guy out of Oregon. We've got to hope that one guy, South Carolina kid, I think, just develops and is just a Chase Young type. I've kind of grown on Chase Young. I used to think, he's the 6.5 sacks. He's going to be a good player. He's going to be. But right now, he's not. He puts a lot of effort into plays. He actually outran Saquon Barkley almost. But yeah, I kind of like his thing. I kind of like a little bit of his thing. But sometimes he just goes into pass rush reps I'm Chase Young. And he doesn't really have that many moves yet. He has 1 or maybe 2 moves. He has that edge kind of dip. But I think Montez Sweat's such a better player right now. But let's just stop talking about that. Those are kind of my 2 worries. I said 3. But I don't really have a third. I guess the kind of offensive line still lingering that guard deal, our guard depth right now. Ben Bredeson goes down, and, we're kind of screwed. But as long as we have, Bobby Skinner said it, as long as you have that left tackle blind side, and you can see the car accident that's happening in front of you, Daniel Jones is going to be way more comfortable. If you can trust Andrew Thomas, even Andrew Thomas doesn't play the best, but if you trust him, that's really all that matters. Because if you didn't trust him, and he played the same way, you'd be thinking about it. You'd be patting the ball but he's still a little awkward in the pocket. People are he looks confident. But I'm eh. And also he's I hear just a generic, he has good touch on the ball. Now, if he had good touch on the ball, he would have done a Derek Carr and just went to Zay Jones, whatever his name is, just pop over to Darius Lane. He does a little bit too much zipping. He did too much zip. So did Derek Carr in that one play as well. That got the interception. But sometimes you have too much zip on the ball, which is give your receiver kind of a little bit of a chance to get it at some points, but he was firing windows that it was unbelievable. And speaking about Daniel Jones, this is a nice transition because every Giants conversation just leads to Daniel Jones. First of all, Patrick Graham needs to lose some weight. I've been seeing that around. That's kind of been a funny comment. Like, Patrick Graham, you lose some weight. We need Isaac Yiadom back. Dalvin Tomlinson back. He was a useful piece, but whatever. That's a conversation for a different day. I want to talk about Daniel Jones and whether this offense trusts Daniel Jones. It's not that they don't trust Daniel Jones. It's that they're too conservative. That's the problem. They're just conservative. If it was Eli Manning back there, who we trust, he's been valuable. If Eli Manning was a quarterback today, we would have ran it twice and threw it once. That's what we did when we had Eli Manning. It's a conservative way to play. It's an old school way. But the new school way is, let's play to win. You know? Let's play to win. Because we trusted our defense one time and they got us at stop. Okay, let's trust them again. Come on. we got something from heaven. I'd rather than have 3 timeouts, driving down the field, and us had 2. I think we had 2 at the time. I just said, okay, drive down the field. We have our timeouts. We'll have you drive down the field maybe, and then call timeouts and maybe stop you if we don't get it here. But throw it 3 times. I don't care. There would still have been like 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock after that, because there's just 3 plays that would have taken up 15 seconds. And if you catch it, stay in bounds, and then they have to call a timeout. Daniel Jones was accurate. I'm not disagreeing with the people that are saying the Giants don't trust Daniel Jones. And I'm not disagreeing with people saying that they should throw it. I disagree with people saying they don't trust Daniel Jones. They do. They're just conservative. They think it's a better play to run it, and what we could break out and run, the potential of that with like a Saquon Barkley, they think that has a higher potential than just the normal Daniel Jones. They want to run out the clock. They're worried too much about the timeouts. And we were already in field goal range. It's not like we needed to get in field goal range. You know? So, in my opinion, we should. I knew it was kind of a mistake at the point, but, I mean, points are points, and you trust Graham Gano, and that goes back to the point. Like, maybe we trust Graham Gano just too much. Maybe it was like, okay, you can just drill a 55-yarder. He went out for the 55-yarder. I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to ruin the streak. And then he hit it. I was like, never mind. Sorry for doubting you, Graham Gano. I apologize, and, my bad. But so far, the highlights of this game, another recap. My 3 players of the game, Sterling Shepard, Daniel Jones in no particular order, and Adoree Jackson. Those are 3 pieces. I don't care about the Adoree Jackson interception. I mean, he played a solid game. Played a really solid game. And Caden Smith. That's what I want to dedicate a video to Caden Smith. Because this guy always freaking produces. He misses some blocks sometimes. He is better. He's a better version of Kyle Rudolph. Do you realize? He's a younger, better version of Kyle Rudolph. I was on the Kyle Rudolph train before I even signed him. I recorded a video saying, who are some tight ends we can get? I said, maybe trade for David Njoku. Maybe go after Kyle Rudolph. And that was one of the names I said. I liked Kyle Rudolph. Maybe it's just a foot thing, and he's still slow. He's still getting into shape. I'm on the Caden Smith train. He always produces for this team. Daniel Jones has good rapport with him. He just doesn't have good rapport with Kenny Golladay yet. Do you blame him for that? Are we really blaming Kenny Golladay? And he trusts Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. Maybe not Darius Slayton anymore, but maybe the drop actually helps that. Stop targeting Darius Slayton. Go after Kenny Golladay. But he has better rapport with some of the other players on this team. Let him get a little comfortable with those players. And maybe against a bad defense like the Atlanta, start targeting Kenny Golladay a little bit more, getting him into the offense. Start getting Kadarius Toney into the offense a little bit more. Let's chill out. Let's relax. We have a lot of weapons on this team. We have a whole bunch. Let's get an identity going a little bit. And this is the NFC East. We got time. We have 15 games. 15. All of a sudden, Dallas loses this week. Washington loses next week, and we win. We're in first place. So it depends what the Eagles happen, but we're a game out, a game and a half, I guess, since the Washington tiebreak. But we can easily beat them towards the end of the season. So let's chill out. Let's relax. Let's realize what we do good. Let's have some faith instead of saying everything's the end of the world. I'm trying to be the voice of reason here. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.